A man in Harrow's had enough. He's found multiple bottles filled with urine thrown in his neighborhood. The town says there's little that can be done. Pandemic restrictions have canceled road tests. Those waiting feel like they've been left stalled. A live look outside now. There could be some rain in those clouds, a chance of showers. Nick Cerkovich joins us with the forecast tonight. I'm Chris Ensing. Thanks for joining us. New restrictions tonight as provincial modeling shows Ontario could see 10,000 daily new cases of COVID-19 by late May. A disaster scenario becoming reality, says the province's Science Advisory Committee. Late this afternoon, Premier Doug Ford announced more strict measures to fight the third wave of COVID-19. Dale Molnar was watching that press conference. Dale, what are the highlights of these new restrictions coming into effect?
Well, the Premier says he has had to make some tough decisions which will limit mobility, extending the stay-at-home order and stepping up enforcement.
My friends, we're losing the battle between the variants and vaccines. The pace of our vaccine supply has not kept up with the spread of the new COVID variants. We are on our heels. But if we dig in, remain steadfast, we can turn this around.
Now, here are the new restrictions being imposed. The stay-at-home orders are now extended for another 2 weeks, effective immediately. As of 12:01 tomorrow morning, outdoor gatherings are restricted to members of your own household. People who live alone can join with a household. All non-essential construction is closing, and they're restricting all outdoor recreational amenities such as golf courses, basketball courts, soccer fields, and playgrounds. Capacity at big box retail and grocery is reduced to 25%. And on Monday, places of worship will be capped at a maximum of 10 people indoors. And checkpoints will be set up at all interprovincial borders, and that will prohibit people from Quebec and Manitoba coming into Ontario, with the exception of work, medical care, or transportation of goods. The province is also calling on the federal government to tighten up international borders. Also, as of tomorrow morning, police and bylaw officers will be stepping up enforcement of the stay-at-home order.
By issuing these new additional enforcement measures, it allows police officers to ask the person why they are not at their place of residence and what their place of residence is. And specifically to your question, if you are not willing to comply, then you are breaking the law, and there is an option for the police officer to issue a ticket.
Dale, people are once again being asked to take extreme measures in order to keep themselves and each other safe. The change today about religious services, how's that going over?
Well, of course, as we said, houses of worship are only being allowed 10 people in their buildings. And earlier this week, we heard from the folks at the Windsor Mosque who were happy that some were able to ring in Ramadan in person this year. It was allowed 15% capacity inside, which meant about 200 people could pray at the facility, which was better than nothing. But come Monday, those services will be held on Zoom.
And the only thing we feel bad because this is Ramadan. In the Ramadan, we like to go to the mosque and perform prayers and do all the stuff whatever is supposed to be done. But under the circumstances, it's safety for everyone, and we are very happy to cooperate, and we have to do it, and this is our duty to do it.
Now, there's movement in our hospital system as well. Yesterday, Essex Windsor EMS transported 2 adults with acute symptoms of COVID-19 from a hospital in the GTA. That's all the detailed information they would give us. The patients were brought to the Met campus, and at that time they were not taken to the ICU, and they are not there now. The chief of EMS tells me this did not impact their level of service here, and it won't. He says they may be sending ambulances again tomorrow to pick up 1 or 2 more patients, and adding the province will be paying for the extra costs associated with those transfers. And during the press conference, the province says it will boost vaccine supply by 25% in hotspots, but did not provide details on when that boost might take place. Chris?
Thanks for this, Dale. CBC's Dale Molnar joining us live tonight. We have more of these details on our website as well, cbc.ca/Windsor. Now, those models, Ontario officials releasing them today, and they say hospitalizations and ICU occupancy are at their highest level since March of 2020, and that's without stronger measures. The high case rates, they're going to continue through the summer.
After more than a year of fighting this together, we are now entering the hardest stage. Cases have risen, hospitals have filled up, and across Ontario, it is very clear we are very much in the third wave of COVID-19. And the numbers are still rising.
Now, health officials say that in the next 2 weeks, the number of patients in intensive care will likely exceed 800, with 1,000 patients in ICU not far behind. They also gave a worst-case scenario of COVID-19 cases in Ontario unless there are strict measures. They say cases could reach 30,000 a day by the end of May. And already this week, parts of Ontario are recording record daily increases of COVID-19 cases. London, Hamilton, Ottawa, all seeing those changes. The numbers in Windsor, Essex, they're not records, but they are on the rise.
When you're going out, by default, you should assume that if people who don't live with you could be infectious and could be spreading the disease.
The warning from Windsor's medical officer of health, with new modeling suggesting explosive growth of COVID-19 in the province. Here's where we sit today. The key indicators are trending worse in Windsor, Essex. More cases per 100,000 people, more tests coming back positive, and the reproduction value, that's the number of people a person with COVID is likely to infect, is up. Here's how it compares to mid-December, when Windsor, Essex was placed into lockdown ahead of a horrifying and deadly second wave. What's different this time? Numbers from the health unit show the spread among younger people. Nearly half of the cases in April are people 29 and younger. Most of those cases, people between 18 and 29. The virus is spreading in different ways as well. A third of cases coming through community spread. Those variants of concern, they're more contagious, most days making up at least 40% of daily cases. But the other major difference during this wave, vaccinations. Most people 75 and older have a shot in their arm already. 1 out of every 4 people in Windsor, Essex have a single dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. But the supply keeps changing as the health unit works to target hotspot postal codes and priority groups.
We recognize that this is not an issue, isolated issue with Windsor. This is a provincial issue. This is a federal issue. And we hope that in the coming weeks and months, we'll be in a better position to have more vaccine and dispense more vaccines as quickly as possible.
Here's what happens next in Windsor, Essex. The testing center at the Met campus of the hospital stays open. And after a brutal summer that saw more than 1,000 local migrant workers sick with COVID-19, the health unit starts targeted vaccinations on Sunday. 400 people a day, they hope. Starting soon, those with high health risks and caregivers will be able to book appointments online as the health unit urges people to act safely now and once again flatten the curve. And news today that most of Ontario's public health units wasted dozens of COVID-19 vaccine doses last month, including Windsor. Here, there were 247 doses that were wasted in March. That month, the health unit received 908 extra doses. In March, we gave out more than 65,000 shots. The most wasteful health unit, York, who wasted 1,220 doses. Wastages are a mix of manufacturer, equipment, and human error, and this includes cracked vials, needles, or syringe malfunctions. Clinical staff have dropped syringes on the ground while patients have moved during injections and messed them up. For more on the wasted dosages and the reasons, go to cbc.ca/Windsor. Now, amid continuing hiccups in COVID-19 vaccine deliveries and distribution, Justin Trudeau says millions of additional doses are coming into the country soon. But he calls the third wave and its strain on the healthcare system incredibly serious.
It is serious, very serious in Ontario and in some parts of the country, and it could get more serious in other parts of the country. This wave is different from previous waves, in part because the variants of concern are more communicable and more serious. That means the things that we did before might not protect us the same ways.
The Prime Minister calls this the toughest stretch of the pandemic as his government coordinates vaccine supplies into the country. Moderna, which is dealing with production issues, says its shipment this month will be cut in half to 650,000 shots, down from 1.2 million. Meanwhile, Pfizer, they're ramping up supply, promising to send 8 million more doses on top of what's already promised. The first 4 million shots of that top-up, it's expected to arrive next month. The owner of a local herbal health store is banning anyone vaccinated for COVID-19 from entering his shop. Experts warn this is based on misinformation. CBC's Katerina Georgieva with more on making sure the information that you act on is from a credible source.
This type of rhetoric that is spread, can affect the health and safety of Canadians.
Rhetoric like this. A sign on the door of this Windsor shop says, if you've had any COVID-19 shots, stay out. The store owner calls the vaccines experimental. His worry?
Called leakage. You understand the concept here? You got somebody taking something inside, now it's leaking out. Why would I take the chance of somebody walking in and possibly infecting me with something that they might have coming out of their bodies? We don't know.
He says those vaccinated can do pickup, but they can't enter. But this expert says this idea has no basis in science.
I think a lot of these ideas come from, first of all, lack of knowledge and lack of understanding of how basic biology and molecular cellular biology works. That is actually not the case. The DNA or the mRNA cannot leak out of our cells. They don't leak out of our cells. So there's absolutely no evidence to say that someone who is vaccinated will cause harm to someone who's unvaccinated.
The shop owner says he was inspired by a gym out west that had implemented a similar policy. Interior Health in BC responded to say there is no public health basis for a policy excluding people who are immunized against COVID-19. The local health unit hadn't heard of the shop's sign until CBC asked about it.
All these vaccines are safe. Everyone, if they have question about vaccine, please go to the credible resources.
The shop also says it's open because it's essential. It sells vitamins and protein powders. The health unit has yet to confirm if this is the case. Sankar says though she's heard of many vaccine-related conspiracy theories before, this one from the shop is new to her.
I think it's really important for us to actually realize that it tends to come from a smaller group of people than we realize. There are actually more people who are looking for proper sources of information.
All the while, in Ontario, COVID-19 case numbers are skyrocketing. ICU beds are overflowing, and Sankar stresses misinformation that leads to more vaccine hesitancy will only keep us here for longer. Katerina Georgieva, CBC News, Windsor.
A Harrow man says he's disgusted after finding what he calls a collection of bottles outside his home, all filled with urine. The disgusting discovery shared on social media, generating lots of reaction. People want action to stop this from happening. But as the CBC's Sanjay Maru reports, the town says penalizing the individuals responsible won't be easy.
This was kind of a surprise and not a very nice one at that.
This surprise, just in front of his home, a water bottle filled with urine. But when he walked a little further down his street, he found another, and another, then two more, then another 24.
I'm out on the road quite a bit myself. I know what it's like to get caught short. But if I had to use a bottle, I'm not going to just use a bottle and then throw it out. I'm going to take it home and dispose of it properly.
Moore posted his findings to a Facebook group for people in Essex, generating a stream of more than 170 comments, like this one from a former truck driver who says, "We were forced to do this because there really isn't a washroom available at most places we had to pick up at." Many seem to point the finger at truck drivers due to a nearby steel mill in the area, but Essex Mayor Larry Snively says there's no way to prove that.
We can't prove who's doing it. We can't prove it's a truck driver. We can't prove if somebody come along with a car and just threw it out. We don't know. That's a situation where how do you know who did it?
In fact, the only way for the town to take any action against an offender, Snively says, is if someone throwing a urine-filled bottle out on the road was caught in the act. They could be fined for littering, but the town says its bylaw enforcement officers don't have the authority to pull vehicles over, meaning enforcement would have to come from Ontario Provincial Police.
It's very disgusting and very disturbing that somebody would do this. Somebody's got to be pretty low to do something like this.
If I caught somebody behind a tree because they couldn't use a bathroom, I'd prefer that rather than actually making garbage of it and also filled with pee.
Moore says he'd like to see the town put up porta potties along the route so drivers in the area have somewhere to go. The town encourages anyone who sees bottles like these to capture license plates of the offending vehicle and call OPP's non-emergency line. Sanjay Maru, CBC News, Harrow.
It's a bumpy road for people trying to get their driver's license. Those hoping to hit the streets will have to continue to wait for a road test. The CBC's Mernelli Unshin has the story.
Basically, it took almost 9 or 10 months longer than it should have.
It's a rite of passage that's been delayed for many. getting a driver's license. On April 3rd, the province clamped down on shutdown restrictions and cancelled all in-vehicle road tests. 17-year-old Ben Wiley managed to get his G2 license on April 1st, but the license didn't come without its share of troubles, with Wiley's test being cancelled twice in the past year.
As soon as the possibility came around, it all got shut down. So it was very, it was quite the big bummer.
Wiley is not alone. In a statement to CBC News, the Ministry of Transportation says almost 3,600 road tests have been cancelled at the Windsor Drive Test Centre. That's since the start of the pandemic. But the whole province is facing a roadblock with almost 300,000 road tests being cancelled. Driving schools are also struggling.
The enrollment has been less than 40% than last year.
Instructor Jacob Hamoud is seeing an unprecedented situation. Driving schools in Windsor have been struggling to retain students.
We had 141 students booked for the road test for the month of April and May. At least 68 or so that were canceled for the month of April. Once the lockdown is over, lifted, then we would have to book again. And in many cases, that's another 6 months wait time.
Those are the lucky ones. For some who had their road tests cancelled, they say they face wait times that extend past this year. Like this Windsor teen who started a petition calling on the provincial government to reconsider restrictions. It has already garnered over 2,000 signatures. For people like Wiley who lucked out, their sympathies go out to those trying to get their license.
To finally get it, but I still feel bad for some of my friends that still can't get their license.
The province says it plans on hiring more driver examiners once restrictions are lifted. Mernali Unchin, CBC News.
The Windsor Assembly Plant will remain on shutdown a bit longer. The head of communications for Stellantis says due to the global microchip shortage, producing will be down for the rest of the month, adding it's working with suppliers to mitigate the impacts caused by the various supply chain issues. A live look outside here as we see an empty street, not something you see too often in Windsor, Essex, but that is something we're going to get used to when this new shutdown order comes into effect. A reminder, all of those rules and the things that you've got to follow on our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. Those will be updated as those come in. Up next, the forecast. Hopefully there's some sun in the future. Maybe that'll give us something to look forward to. That's all on Nick's shoulders after this. Now, it started out as a small side project. It's grown into a flourishing small business with some of the proceeds supporting youth programming. It all revolves around basketballs. Greg Ross has the story.
When Olivia Ho saw basketball planters on the internet last fall, she just had to try making one for herself.
What started as a pandemic project.
She thought it would be a great way to stay busy with the city just starting to lock down again. So she got to work in between shifts at St. Michael's Hospital, where she works as a cardiac sonographer. When she finished her first planter, she was so proud she wanted to show it off.
And I kind of posted it on my own Instagram, and all of a sudden I got a lot of messages flooding into my my inbox being like, make me one, I want one, I want one.
She decided to start a side business called The Give and Grow, selling them to friends and family online. But it was one friend in particular who had the right connections.
A friend of mine actually bought a planter from me and gifted it to a friend of hers that just got this new job. This new job happened to be with the Raptors.
He loved his planters so much, he thought they would make perfect housewarming gifts for the entire team, who at the time were just settling into their new homes in Tampa. The Raptors sent Olivia 20 basketballs just like this one and asked her to customize a planter for all of the players and coaches.
I got a local calligrapher named Mark Serrano to draw on the balls, each of their names, so Lowry, Van Vliet.
The Raptors tweeted a video with Ho's story and the caption, "Olivia didn't drop the ball." Since that tweet went out, she's had about 100 new orders on her website, which she says will take weeks to get caught up on.
Next 2-3 weeks, I'll be painting basketballs, I'll be cutting them up.
Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
And joining us now for a look at the weather is Nick Cirkovich. Nick, we got the weekend ahead of us. That's about all of the only thing we've been looking forward to today is the fact tomorrow's Saturday.
Yeah, no kidding, eh? Well, at least we're going to see a little bit in the way of sunshine. We're seeing some clearing sky cover through tonight in extreme southwestern Ontario. A little bit more in the way of cloud cover as you head out toward the London area, but we will see some good sunny breaks in there and temperatures warming up into the mid-teens now. Right now, we're sitting at 11 degrees in Windsor. Notably cooler, though, as we head a little bit further toward the east. And a lot of this is going to be dictated by the cloud cover. So as we head through this evening, cloud cover starts to clear out in southwestern Ontario, down around the Windsor area. That's going to help temperatures actually drop down just below the 0 mark. As you head a little bit further to the east, though, few spotty showers and slightly warmer through the overnight because of the cloud cover. It's all part of a bigger system that's kind of been hanging out for the last little while. It's slowly breaking down and pushing off, leading to some nicer weather as we head through the weekend. So here's how the forecast plays out. Into tomorrow, this one actually makes it look a little bit more cloudy than I think it will be. We'll see some sunshine in there for tomorrow, or at least a mix of sun and cloud. As we head through Saturday evening into Sunday, kind of breaks up, and then Sunday again on and off cloud cover. So what we're looking at is not straight sunshine here, but on and off cloud cover, mix of sun and cloud. At times more in the way of cloud cover throughout the weekend. Sunday, it looks like it kind of clears out a bit more, and then into Monday as well. All of this still bringing with it the slight chance of some isolated showers throughout the weekend, but not rain, just isolated spotty showers here and there. -1 through tonight, 0 out toward the Leamington area. And because of that cloud cover, we're looking at a little bit warmer, or slightly warmer temperatures toward the London area through the overnight. Changes, though, for tomorrow, the warmer weather down in southwestern Ontario, down in Windsor, 15 degrees, and then out 13 toward London. So pretty nice weather to kick off the weekend as we head through the long-range forecast. Similar temperatures Saturday, Sunday into Monday. Temperatures around 15 degrees. On and off spotty showers. But you're probably not looking at that. You're probably looking at that, right? I know. Well, there is a system that's moving through. It is going to drop temperatures. I think the forecast models are a little bit, I would say, ambitious with the snow on this. I haven't put any amounts on there. We got to wait and see. But I'm warning you, some areas might see some accumulating snows Tuesday into Wednesday, and then it'll melt by Wednesday.
I think everyone in our newsroom just sort of shut, like,
I know.
Snow? Snow?
Yeah,
Is that,
I know.
Is that coming
Say it ain't snow.
Say it ain't snow.
I'm telling you, we got to wait and see, but.
That's okay. Yeah. That's fine. It's all right. Thanks for this, Nick. Enjoy your weekend.
You bet. You too.
A picture can tell you 1,000 words. This one you can feel. We're going to show you the winner of the World Press Photo of the Year when we're back. The winner of the World Press Photo of the Year is called The First Embrace. It shows a Brazilian nurse giving an 85-year-old patient her first hug in 5 months. The nurse is in a face mask hugging through a clear plastic sheet. A Danish reporter took the photo in Sao Paulo in August. Brazil remains one of the world's worst COVID-19 hotspots. And plenty of people who have a pet wake them up in the morning, and that's part of the problem or part of the joy, but that pet probably doesn't look like this. That's Messi, a puma named after the famous soccer player Lionel Messi. His Russian owners, both psychologists, bought him from a petting zoo. They adapted their home to meet the standards. I can't even believe what I'm looking at right now. They say that the puma was in poor health when they got him. They had to teach him to run, to jump. It's also why he's smaller than what an average puma would be, although he's certainly more Instagram famous. Millions are following his adventures there. Wow. That's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. We have the updates on all the new restrictions as we are in this third wave. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. The Rick Mercer Report, that's up next. Have a good weekend.